Power Producers Shop Talk, where we are refining and redefining the sales game by equipping you with the tools you need to differentiate yourself in the marketplace.
Listening to the podcast is only going to get you so far. Why not take your game to the next level? Check out Power Producer Basecamp on killingcommercial.com today.
Tactical skills that'll help you provide deliverable value to your clients and prospects.
Want to have the sweet swag that we send out from the Power Producers podcast for your clients and employees? Check out policyt.com today.
And action items that you can provide to take your prospects and clients to the next level.
Want to create an online presence but don't know how to start? Check out crushingcontent.com. It's done for you, so all you have to do is show up.
This is Power Producer Shop Talk, production redefined. Are you ready to feel the power?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Power Producer Shop Talk. We are bringing you episode 2 of our 4-part series with Warren Cleveland from Captive Coalition. And on this episode of Shop Talk, we are going to talk about the 3 mental roadblocks that you agents have about captives. Warren, take it and run with it, man. This is your dance.
Buddy, thanks again for having me, Dave. And I run into this every so often, and I go back and I tell them, do you want to lose a $300,000 revenue client? I mean, which agent in the world would say yes to that, right? Everybody wants to keep those really juicy, large clients that if you lost them today, it would change your business forever, right? It would suck so bad. And so when I ask agents like, okay, well, what's holding you back? The first one I get really more than anything, I don't understand how this thing works, right? And so agents won't sell what they don't understand. I get that. Nobody wants, you don't want to look like an idiot. You certainly don't want to put your client in something that you're not comfortable with or don't understand in case it burns them, right? You don't want to lose that. You don't want to lose a client that way either, right? But not having the knowledge shouldn't be the reason you lose the client anyway, right? Getting an understanding about how that works. And then the other thing I hear from is, what if I bring it up and lose control of the relationship, right? And there are other captive managers, no, I'm not going to name names, but they don't really want you at the table. They don't see you as a value add to the business. Whereas, that's one of the differences for Captive Coalition is that we want the agent to be the quarterback. We want the agent to be the hero of the story, right? Because it's your relationship. It's your client. It's not my client. It's your client. So what can we do to help you get them in a captive and retain that, have that control? And third is, hey, it's way too complex. I don't have the time, right? I don't have the time to learn how this works. Now, if I said, okay,
dude, anybody who doesn't have the time, it's not that you don't have the time. It is not a priority, period.
There you go.
Like, come on.
There you go.
I don't have the time to learn how to keep a $300,000 account on my books. But what blows my mind is how many lazy people are out there that literally that's exactly what it is. Well, no, I'd rather be at the 19th hole by 3:30, or I got a tee time, next Tuesday with this guy, and I've had it every year for the last every week for the last 5 years. He's never going to leave me.
They will absolutely.
If you hear the guy telling you stories about secrets he's keeping from his wife when you're talking to him on the golf course, he's probably keeping some from you too.
That is so great. All right, now the one I will caveat this. I do hear one more, and the fear is, I don't know how to get paid. They're terrified about either I have to disclose how much I make, or do you pay us a commission, or like they're so in the dark and they've heard so many bad things about how this works that they have no clue about how to get paid. And it's what you teach actually, right? Because you teach a fee, right? You teach how that works and how to
transparency too, man.
There you go. That's
like
the word.
If you're afraid to talk to your client about how much you get paid, maybe you need to analyze what you're actually doing for them. When I go in and tell people, they say, oh, what are we going to talk about today? Actually, we're going to talk about one of my favorite things, my own compensation, and that's it. And we get into it right out of the box. But I mean, I think Agents have to understand this. Like, this is common sense. And I'm telling you right now, if you listen to this and you disagree with me, this is how your accounts are going to get taken from you, because I'm telling you how I take them from you right now. And I say me figuratively, but it's people like me in other parts of the country. Agents get weird about compensation. They don't want to disclose it. But I can tell you, number one, in any new business appointment that I go into, I am going to let that prospect know how much they're paying the agency that represents them right now. Why do I do that? Number one, because I'm pretty sure the agency probably hasn't told them how much they're paying them. And number two, I know they're not delivering nearly enough value to justify how much they're getting paid. The other reality is the compensation model is flawed for our industry, man. The worse you do, the more your premium goes up, the more money your agent gets for not doing their job and helping you control your costs. Like that, why do we have a model where that makes sense? The only person who wins is the agent, and it's a fool's errand because you ain't going to win very long doing that. But if you go in with a service fee, and specifically when we do it, a service fee that's flat, or a service fee with a gain share option where we're actually identifying the KPIs you want us to impact. And as we drive those down, when we hit certain benchmarks, we get a bonus on our fee. Everybody wins because I don't get paid more unless I save more for my client at that time.
There you
And they're
go.
very happy to pay
There
me
you go.
more money to go in and do that. The other thing that it does for you is it establishes a baseline for your compensation as the producer. So if I go in and I've got an account that's paying $500,000 a year, and I think that $50,000 is a reasonable fee for what I need to do with the risk management service offering, the negotiation and placement of the insurance coverages, and the ongoing risk management action plan we put in place, then I'm going to agree to that. They're going to agree to that, and we're going to go about our way. 3 years from now, when that account's at $250,000, if I was captive, not just captive is a horrible term to use here. If I was beholden to the commission structure, I would have gotten a 50% pay cut, but I'm still making $50,000 in fee to give a $250,000 a year savings to my client. And while most producers are probably like blown away that that's capable, I'm going to tell you something else. I'm not going to be happy with that, because if I've saved you $250,000 a year and have sustained it for 3 years, I'm going to come back to you and say, look, I watch Shark Tank. I'm like, Mr. Wonderful, I need a little bit to keep my beak wet. I've saved you $250,000 a year. Don't give me more than Jesus. I just want 10%. And I want 75 a year now to continue to get these kind of results for you. Now I've just showed you how to make triple the compensation on an account at that premium level, because my job is not to sell premium, it's to solve problems. And you can charge whatever you want when you're the one who can solve the problem, right?
That's right.
It's like the story you see show up every now and again on social, where they bring the guy in to fix the motor in the motor room of the cruise boat, and he walks in and he goes in, pulls out a hammer, hits it in a certain spot, motor unfreezes, starts up again, goes out, hands the guy an invoice for $10,000. And the guy's like, "What are you doing, man?" He goes, "You just used a $10 hammer to fix this problem and you're charging me $10,000." He goes, "I'm not charging you $10,000 because I had the hammer. I'm charging you $10,000 because I knew where to hit it."
You know what? So this aligns exactly why I went into captives in the beginning, right? I got so tired of the insurance industry, hammering good clients with good loss runs and just taking all this stuff. I'm like, and these poor business owners are like, what the hell is going on? Like, why am I paying all this money? Right. And I said, there's got to be a different way. And that's when I discovered captives. And that was, okay, this aligns. If a business owner, so we had talked about what does a good prospect look like, right? A good prospect is one that they're fed up with paying premiums. They have no idea where they're going, but they're willing to take a little risk on themselves, because the insurance industry is not going to give you a better deal until you take a little risk on yourself. Think about high deductible, think about retro, think about SIRs, right? As you move up that ladder, the captive is coming into play. Well, when you start owning a little bit of your risk, right, that aligns with now you getting a better deal. And if you're the agent bringing that to to your prospect or client, they're going to save, the right account is going to save an enormous amount of money over a period of time. So Dave, you're so spot on, right? You need to be adding value to your client. How do you do that? I mean, we do a little bit of that, but you do a ton of that coaching, and showing agents, get out of this hamster wheel mindset, right? This hamster wheel mindset, it's a lazy mindset, right? It's just easy. It's the easy button. Hit the renewal, off they go. You know, I see this more and more in the medical, group benefit space than I do even on the P&C side. That's crazy. What some of these employers are having to deal with every year. I mean, those it's just nuts. And a lot of the brokers, it's just easier to go do that than it is to try and figure out how this other stuff works. Eventually, what's going to happen? Somebody's going to come in and take that client because you weren't educated on having the conversation first.
Well,
Yeah,
and that's the thing, man. It's two pieces of education. It's the broker getting educated about how all of this works, but then it's also taking the time and refining your approach to the point that you can then educate your
yes,
client or your
it,
prospect on it. And it takes time to do that, right? It's
it
not
does.
as quick and easy as just slapping some apps together or quoting something in an online portal, getting a quote back, and then going and selling it. It's a longer term thing. I would even make this argument: if you're a producer right now and you're calling on accounts and your point of contact is the chief financial officer of that company, you are dealing in the types of accounts that are big enough and sophisticated enough to where they have to have the CFO. You should be tabling this conversation as quick as you can, because these are people who are paid to think strategically,
Yeah,
specifically about the finances. And we gripe about it. It's so funny, man. We gripe about it because it's true. Anytime somebody's looking to cut costs, one of the first places they go is they look at their insurance program because they view it as a big bill. And we're like, oh, why do they always go to insurance to cut costs first or to look for savings? Because you haven't really done what you needed to do to be proactive in showing them that. Like, if I go in and I unturn every stone for a prospect and say, look, you could look at going to an incurred loss retro for the next couple of years. Like, it would be a normal step that if you want to take some more risk but still be protected on the top side, you could look at an incurred loss retro. Your loss runs are going to get you a pretty favorable rate. I wouldn't go worry about getting a paid loss because you don't want to have to collateralize. There's no end to the adjustments on them. Do this, and if this is going to work for you, we're going to know relatively quickly. You got to do some explaining on the math, but the policy structure is the only thing that's different. How they play the shell game with the money inside of it is no different. It's just your client has a really good upside if they can control the risk, which they get with a dividend in a guaranteed cost plan. In a retro adjustment, they're just not paying that money, or a retro plan, they're just not having to pay all that money in to turn around and get it back in most cases. And the other thing is, you're showing that you're capped on your top side, right? It's been so long since I've written a retro. I don't even know where the maxes are at this point, but I've seen them as low as 10% above manual. And if you've got somebody who understands that they've had a 6.5% loss ratio over 7 years, the likelihood of them capping manual and then going 10% past is slim and none. You can go in and you can look at those things and make the move. That's a natural progression for somebody who's maybe not quite big enough yet. And in many cases, they probably are, but they may not be, just sort of on the precipice of being big enough to get into a captive. Talk to them about another loss sensitive option first. It's going to help you gauge their risk tolerance, number one, but it's also going to force them to have the controls in place without as much risk on the top side as what they could have. Get that stuff dialed in, and then you're gonna walk them right down the line.
yeah, Dave. You know what I'm going to do? We'll put a link to this one graph. I love to give. We have it for our members in our members area, but I'm going to give it to all of your listeners because I think it demonstrates program versus financial control, and it starts with guaranteed costs and goes all the way up to self-insurance, right? And it's all the little step points along the way about how, and it's something to give a CFO or a CEO or somebody who's going to be a decision maker to give an illustration about what you're talking about. Because for most of them, it's abstract. Like, okay, I get SIR, I get retros and whatever. And so to go back to that, having an agent who can explain, right, captives are a financial mechanism. There's nothing, everybody on the outside sees, a fronting carrier, they see the same policy, they see the same certificate, it's got a recognized AM Best A rated. Everybody on the outside sees the same. It's the money and how it flows internally, which is the same as what you were just talking about, the retro. So agents don't miss the boat here and not understand the simple risk mechanism that is a captive insurance company. Period.
Right. Well, we make it more complicated. If you can,
It's not complicated.
You can explain the like, I think every agent should be able to explain to their client how an insurance company makes money.
Yes.
The reason why your clients think they're getting screwed on their premium is because you don't know how to explain to them how an insurance company makes money. And if you listen to the people who squawk about it the most, go listen. There's a direct correlation to how much they gripe versus what their loss runs are. And it's usually somebody with a terrible risk profile that's complaining that they're spending too much. It's very, very rare that you're going to have a CFO or with a risk management department that has things dialed in that's going to be complaining, because they're resourceful enough to go find what
That's
they
right.
need. But it's the people who don't understand that. And I talk about this quite a bit with my community specifically, but even in one-on-one coaching, that the average, use workers' comp as an example. The average workers' comp carrier is profitable to a 65% loss ratio. They have to have 35% to cover fixed costs and admin. So that means that if you're paying $100,000, you could have 65,000 in losses. The carrier keeps 35 for their fixed costs and admin, and they break even at that point. So everything below 65% becomes profit to the carrier. Where you run into issues is when you have people that have loss ratios that are like 120, 130, 140% that think they're getting screwed on insurance. And if you can't sit down and show them the model and say, look, you're actually getting a good deal because the carrier's betting on the fact that we're still going to work to clean everything up and they can get back to profitability. But if you have another year or two like this, you're not going to be complaining about how much you're paying.
That's right.
You're going to be complaining because you can't even get coverage.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's the thing, right? And even in the captive world, right? So we'll know 1 out of 5 years you're going to have a bad year, right? An insured's going to have a bad year. That happens, right? That's why you have insurance. But if you continue to have those frequency losses, in the traditional world, you get hammered, right? You get hammered with those increases. It's the other guys that we're talking about, the ones that don't have all those or don't have any of those losses and are still paying more than they really should be. Right? If you look at it, they're paying more than they should be, who need to get out of that and start taking control of their own risk, period. And the agents need to be leading them.
Agreed. What did we miss for this segment?
I think we're good, man.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good place to break. All right, we're going to come back to you next week. We got episode 3 of a 4-part series, and we're going to be talking about captive insurance fundamentals, what agents really need to know. We've already told you a bunch of stuff you really need to know. And by the way, if you're one of these people who's just looking for the place online that you can get your continuing ed done the fastest, just quit tuning in. Like, it's not going to do you any good. You're wasting your time to listen because you're not taking your own education seriously enough to begin with. You have to be serious about this stuff, and you have to want to be a master of your craft. And, it's interesting, man, because there's so many parallels between playing sports and being in the insurance game as a producer. The people who win every day, like, nobody's ever surprised by that because they're the people who prepare every single day. They show up every single time. And, it cracks me up because with being online these days, you see so many people out there that, are always, you could just tell everything's a shortcut for them. And I'm like, dude, you're going to post about one more time before I just run a leads list on every account in your agency and start calling it, because there's no way you're taking care of your clients the way that you should. But anyhow, I'm off my soapbox. We'll catch you guys next week. See ya.